Hey friends, and welcome back to my channel. It's Teresa here with a layout for Allison Pennington using the This Is Home digital collection. This is a hybrid Project Life monthly layout for the month of August of 2024 last year. And so let me take you to my Photoshop screen to just point out some things about the design process. I think by now you've probably sort of gotten used to the formula here that I've been using for last year and this year's album. And that is basically starting with a template by Zane, the weekly number 1 so far and number 5 I've been using. This is one from weekly number 5. I'll have that link down below. And then to start the layout, a couple of pattern papers, creating an area or a zone for the photos and journal cards, and a zone across the bottom or across the top for the month, and some embellishments, of course, using the gorgeous elements from the digital collection that I happen to be using. And so here you can see the elements printed out, designed as always, 2 of the pattern papers to create the background. This time I've used the little lace strip. That's not a pattern paper, it's an element in the digital collection. It makes for a great little transition strip between the photos and the month designator. And then, of course, the month banner created with another pattern paper. Used some of the beautiful florals to create both of these clusters and some other printed embellishments on top. And so then, of course, I have my squares printed on the background, just a light border so that I know where the photos, where I want them to go and where I want the journal cards to go, since they're not all predictable sizes. They are differing sizes depending on the template that I'm using. So these are my photos here. I'm going to go ahead and jump in and start the process and lay these out before I begin adhering them down, just to make sure I'm putting them in the place where I planned for them to go. You could make last minute changes if you felt like that was a good option for you at this stage. I like layering the photos on top. One, I tend to print my background on matte photo paper because it's 12 by 12. It's printed on the large size photo paper that I purchase in matte. But the photos I prefer in glossy, mostly for the clarity and the depth of color that you get from using a specific photo paper, even for pattern papers and for journal cards. Notice how the element that I used, the first little piece with the diagonal lines and the blocks of color, that is an element in the This Is Home collection, and I added some stitching to it. This journal card here is one of the pattern papers in the collection, simply layered over a white block and then a couple of flowers added. There's another journal card here on this side of the layout, and it's created with the grid pattern paper in the collection and one of the paint elements just layered on top of it to the left side and leaving space for the journaling. There's also on the right hand side here, this is a journal card I created with a pattern paper, and there's a file folder embellishment in the collection. And so I just layered that over top, tucked the little floral element, and then layered my text box on top of it. The little square a journal card or filler card is a pattern paper in the collection as well. And then this last journal card as well is a pattern paper with the little doily added, and the little beads or sequins are added on top. There's also some stitching there, and that'll make sense here in a minute once we add all of the embellishments to that card. Some of the stories from that week that determined the photos, or the photos determined the stories, however you want to see it. That particular month, we had a lovely visit from our son Addison, who lives up in Virginia, and he came home for his birthday. It was his birthday. It was River's birthday. It was the first day of school. Mickey, our sweet little dog that you see on the left-hand side, we had to put him to rest that month. He was 17 years old. So definitely a little tribute to that. And there were a couple of yummy ramen restaurant experiences that month. So I wanted to highlight those. A lot of happy things going on. Nick going back to college as well at that time, although I didn't necessarily point that out. But I did focus on having us together, and of course following through with the theme of the collection, which was "This is Home." And for me, home is, of course, where I am, where I live, but also having everyone home at once. The more that the older that the children get, they're now 17 to 21, and so the older they get, the less time they spend here, and the more precious that becomes when they're here at home. So as I normally do, I printed out my embellishments more in clusters, and so I'm just adding those here around the page. Here you can see this journal card and why that stitching made sense on the background. I stitched the word strips here, or added it's a little zigzag stitch that's an element in the collection. So I added that to the word strips, and then I also added it to the background layer so that it would be a continuous stitching. I hope that makes sense. I do that frequently when there's something that I want to appear on the background and on the top layer. I duplicate it, and that way it shows up like it should. I think you'll be able to see it in the final photos for the layout here. There's a couple of, one thing I did with the labels in this collection, I printed them to fit the space that I needed. I think a lot of times, right, they're going to be if they're pre-printed, they're going to be one certain size. And so it was kind of nice to have the flexibility here to size it down according to the photo, or size it up according to however much journaling I wanted to add to it. That's definitely a bonus of using digital product. Notice how I added the little floral bouquet here with a little word strip. I added that to the diagonal element with that adorable stitching. That's such a great little eye-catching element, but also notice how it balances the florals on the lower right-hand corner. And I really like that. The opposite corners are also balanced with the little kind of peach orange floral there that gets repeated in the top right-hand corner as well. Funny thing, I forgot to print one of the photos that I'm adding to the journal card there on the left-hand side. So I stepped away real quick to print that out, and then just adding the last little cluster to that. Of course, as always, you'll be able to see the close-ups in photo format, both at the end of the video and also on my social media, on Instagram and Facebook. And I will have links to the products down below. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your kind comments. And I will see you back here again real soon. Bye-bye.